The Muslim saint does not say that he has wrought a miracle. He says a miracle was granted or manifested to me. According to one view, he may be fully conscious at the time, but many Sufis hold that such manifestation cannot take place except in ecstasy. When the saint is entirely under divine control, his own personality is then in abeyance, and those who interfere with him oppose the almighty power which speaks with his lips and smites with his hand. Jalaluddin, who uses incidentally the rather double-edged analogy of a man possessed by a peri, one of the spirits, collectively, it's a type of jinn, or it's a Persian word for a type of jinn, relates the following anecdote concerning Bayezid of Bistam, a celebrated Persian saint who several times declared in ecstatic frenzy that he was no other than God. After coming to himself on one of these occasions and learning what blasphemous language he had uttered, Bayezid ordered his disciples to stab him with their knives if he should offend again. Let me quote the sequel from Mr. Winfield's abridged translation of the Masnavi, page 196 there. The torrent of madness bore away his reason, and he spoke more impiously than before. Within my vesture is naught but God. Whether you seek him on earth or in heaven, his disciples all became mad with horror, and struck with their knives at his holy body, each one who aimed at the body of the sheikh. His stroke was reversed, and wounded the striker. No stroke took effect on that man of spiritual gifts, but the disciples were wounded and drowned in blood. Here is the poet's conclusion. Ah, you who smite with your sword him beside himself, you smite yourselves therewith, beware. For he that is beside himself is annihilated and safe. Yea, he dwells in security forever. His form is vanished. He is a mere mirror. Nothing is seen in him but the reflection of another. If you spit at it, you spit at your own face. And if you hit that mirror, you hit yourself. And if you see an ugly face in it, 'tis your own. And if you see a Jesus there, you are its mother Mary. He is neither this nor that. He is void of forms. 'Tis your own form which is reflected back at you. The life of Abul Hasan Khurqani, another Persian Sufi who died in 1033 of the Common Era, gives us a complete picture of the Oriental pantheist and exhibits the mingled arrogance and sublimity of the character as clearly as could be desired. Since the original text covers 50 pages, I can translate only a small portion of it here. Once the sheikh said, this night a great many persons, he mentioned the exact number, have been wounded by brigands in such and such a district. On making inquiry, they found that his statement was perfectly true. Strange to relate, on the same night, his son's head was cut off and laid upon the threshold of his house. Yet he knew nothing of it. His wife, who disbelieved in him, cried, what think you of a man who can tell things which happen many leagues away, but does not know that his own son's head has been cut off and is lying at his very door? Yes, the sheikh answered, when I saw that, the veil had been lifted, but when my son was killed, it had been let down again. One day, Abul Hasan Khurqani clenched his fist and extended the little finger and said, here's the Qibla. The Qibla is the point to which Muslimin turn their faces when praying, the Kaaba. If anyone desires to become a Sufi, these words were reported to the Grand Sheikh, who, deeming the coexistence of two Qiblas an insult to the divine unity, exclaimed, since the second Qibla has appeared, I will cancel the former one. After that, no pilgrims were able to reach Mecca. Some perished on the way. Others fell into the hands of robbers, or were prevented by various causes from accomplishing their journey. Next year, a certain dervish said to the Grand Sheikh, what sense is there in keeping the folk away from the house of God? Thereupon the Grand Sheikh made a sign, and the road became open once more. The dervish asked, "Whose fault is it that all these people have perished?" The Grand Sheikh replied, "When elephants jostle each other, who cares if a few wretched birds are crushed to death?" And speaking of death, Islam, off the battlefield, we don't believe in cutting off heads and limbs and that sort of thing. Well, I mean, at least our fundamental sources don't have that. So the people who cut off heads, you know right away that they are the criminals, whether they're the government or not. Some person who were setting forth on a journey begged Turkani to teach them a prayer that would keep them safe from the perils of the road. He said, "If any misfortune should befall you, mention my name." This answer was not agreeable to them. They set off, however, and while traveling, were attacked by brigands. One of the party mentioned the saint's name and immediately became invisible. To the great astonishment of the brigands, who could not find either his camel or his bales of merchandise, the others lost all their clothes and goods. On returning home, they asked the sheikh to explain the mystery. "We all invoked God," they said, "without success, but the one man who invoked you vanished from before the eyes of the robbers." "You invoke God formally," said the sheikh, "whereas I invoke him really. Hence, if you invoke me and then I invoke God on your behalf, your prayers are granted." Well, Islam just says to pray to God directly. It never allows people to invoke creations. So there's a difference between a lot of Sufis, right? "But it is useless for you to invoke God formally and by rote." One night, while he was praying, he heard a voice cry, "Ha, Abul Hassan, dost thou wish me to tell people what I know of thee, that they may stone thee to death?" "O Lord God," he replied, "dost thou wish me to tell the people what I know of thy mercy, and what I perceive of thy grace, that none of them may ever again bow to thee in prayer?" The voice answered, "Keep thy secret, and I will keep mine." He said, "O God, do not send me the angel of death, for I will not give up my soul to him. How should I restore it to him from whom I did not receive it? I received my soul from thee, and I will not give it up to anyone but thee." He said, "After I shall have passed away, the angel of death will come to one of my descendants and set about taking his soul, and will deal hardly with him. Then will I raise my hands from the tomb and shed the grace of God upon his lips." He said, "If I bade the Empyrean move, it would obey, and if I told the sun to stop, it would cease from rolling on its course." He said, "I am not a devotee, nor an ascetic, nor a theologian, nor a Sufi. O God, thou art one, and through thy oneness I am one." He said, "The skull of my head is the Empyrean, and my feet are under the earth, and my two hands are east and west." He said, "If anyone does not believe that I shall stand up at the resurrection, and that he shall not enter paradise until I lead him forward, let him come not here to salute me." He said, "Since God brought me forth from myself, paradise is in quest of me, and hell is in fear of me. And if paradise and hell were to pass by this place where I am, both would become annihilated in me, together with all the people whom they contain." He said, "I was lying on my back, asleep. From a corner of the throne of God, something trickled into my mouth, and I felt a sweetness in my inward being." He said, "If a few drops of that which is under the skin of a saint should come forth between his lips, all the creatures of heaven and earth would fall into panic." And one of the things, of course, that we arrive at there is that you realize, at least in your own life, you're the one. Yeah, you're the one the whole the story is about. That you're the one that brings you to heaven or hell. You're the one that's it's your doing that is your path. Don't want to overstate that.